Chris Rosen of EW.com and Mike Hogan of VanityFair.com. It's time now to really get serious about your Oscar predictions. And Chris, we can always count on you being such a daredevil, and you're not disappointing us this time. You're saying Lady Bird. Wow.
Lady Bird, I'm out there on the limb. I'm very happy to be there. I think there's a bunch of reasons why I think actually legitimate reasons, and then reasons that I think are more anecdotal. But I'd say legitimately, this is a year where there's a lot of contenders, like we've discussed probably, for months now. And I can't believe the Oscars are still 2 weeks away and that's still not here. But yeah, you got Get Out, you've got Shape of Water, Three Billboards, I think Lady Bird, Dunkirk. There's a ton of movies that people are really passionate about and really like. But I think of all the movies, Lady Bird is a consistent, solid number 2 or number 1 on the ballot. I think no matter if you love Get Out and you put it number 1, you'd still probably love Lady Bird and put it number 2. If you love Three Billboards and put it number 1, you're still going to put it number 2 as Lady Bird. So I think in the preferential ballot, it's going to get a lot of support in the number 2s and enough number 1s that it kind of will carry through and maybe win in a situation similar to how Argo won. I actually think Lady Bird and Argo are very similar because you have the actor making good as a director. You have, I think, the Argo campaign obviously coalesced around Ben Affleck being snubbed for Best Director, but I think a lot of it was his, at the Golden Globes, people really loved his speech, and it happened after he was snubbed, but people really loved that, and it kind of catapulted Argo throughout the season. And I felt a similar vibe with Lady Bird at the Golden Globes, which I understand now is like 3 months ago or whatever, because this award season is so long, thanks to the Olympics and whatever else. But I'm like, people really loved Greta Gerwig. She was like incredibly genuine when she gave her speech at the Golden Globes. People loved her so much that at the SAG Awards, where there was no reason to do a thing about Greta Gerwig, they actually did a thing about Greta Gerwig just sitting in the audience being like, hey, you know what movie's great? Lady Bird. We really loved it. They didn't even do that for Jordan Peele and Get Out at the SAG Awards. And I understand that that's because Get Out was nominated, but I just feel like everyone really loves Lady Bird. And I think that is part of the reason why it's going to win. The anecdotal reason is I think lately Hollywood has really wanted to try to make a statement with their picks, especially at the Oscars. And you've seen that in the past few years with like 12 Years a Slave winning and Moonlight winning. And I think Lady Bird speaks to a current moment of Time's Up and Me Too, where you have a very strong female director making this movie about the female experience. And it kind of speaks to a lot of women of all ages. And I think, I understand it's not, kind of like right down the middle, like a Three Billboards thing where it is literally about sexual assault. But I think that there's enough of a political atmosphere around Lady Bird where you could say it's going to win and kind of carry through. And the other reason is because I think we were kind of talking about this before we started. The passion for Shape of Water is there, but not enough. And I think Three Billboards is still too polarizing. And I kind of think Get Out maybe is a little polarizing too. And then you're going to get left with Lady Bird to win. So that's why I've stuck with it with no one else on the nobody. It's just,
Mike Hogan has Lady Bird in 4th place. Mike, what's really going to win here? And why is Lady Bird in your 4th place?
Well, I mean, a lot of what Chris is saying, I agree with in terms of the analysis of it's a year where nobody really knows what's going to happen. There's a lot of different contenders. You really start having to think very carefully and thoughtfully about preferential balloting. And Daniel Joyeux came onto our podcast at Little Gold Men and made a very interesting, compelling case that Dunkirk would win. Based on his feeling that it's kind of like everyone kind of likes it. And as you tick off, as you eliminate, maybe this year you're going to eliminate 4 or even 5 movies from the bottom before you get to somebody who has 50% Best Picture. Being in the middle is kind of actually really helpful. But when I started doing that analysis myself, I start thinking, well, Darkest Hour, you knock off, that may give some votes to Three Billboards, but then The Post, I could see those second place votes going to Get Out. Phantom Thread, I could see those second place votes going to Get Out. Call Me by Your Name, I could see those second place votes going to Get Out. And one of the reasons that I think Lady Bird could be in 4th is that, to me, even though I love Chris's enthusiasm, and Joanna Robinson on our podcast is sticking with her Lady Bird guns as well, to me, it seems to me that a lot of people have basically accepted that Lady Bird's not going to win. And so the whole question of will it split the vote with Get Out, assuming there's this kind of woke millennial progressive voter out there that those two movies would appeal to. I feel like a lot of those people have kind of given up and are putting their chips on Get Out, thinking that that's the one that really has a chance to beat Three Billboards. Beat Shape of Water. So I mean, a lot of people have Shape of Water 1 and Three Billboards 2. I don't really think Three Billboards is as much of a threat as some people think, because Searchlight is, to me, you know, going to put its chips on Shape of Water because they didn't even get director for Three Billboards, and the polarization. And they've got those, you know, they've got the acting wins, so that's great. I really do. You know, we sent Nicole Sperling out to ask Academy members whether they were aware of the controversy around Three Billboards, and they said that they were, you know, the people that she talked to. So I don't think this is just a New York, like, woke Twitter thing. I think there's some real concern about that film. It's not that it's not a very well done film. It's that it just missed something a little bit about racial dynamics in the US. He's a British guy. It's forgivable. But I don't think that this, of all years with Donald Trump in the White House, the Academy is going to be like, yes, this movie says what we wanted to say. I think the BAFTAs can get away with that because they don't live under Trump, and they don't understand necessarily those dynamics as well either. And same with the Globes. But I don't think the Academy is going to do it. And I just see the same lack of enthusiasm for Shape of Water. So I don't know. I could see a lot of things happening, but I actually am starting to really think that Get Out, there's a kind of a rallying and passion around Get Out, more so than for Lady Bird, of people just saying, like, we can make this happen this year, and this will be a fitting you know, outcome to take on a film that a lot of people have some issues with in Three Billboards, and then another film that's obviously beautiful but is going to win director and is not really that many people's favorite movie of the year, Shape of Water.
Well, I agree with the general premise of what we're saying here, and that is 5 movies are in the running to win Best Picture. Billboards, Shape of Water, Get Out, Lady Bird, and Dunkirk. And we actually interviewed 4 voters last week. This was before BAFTA, so I think things might change. But we found 2 votes for Shape of Water and 2 for Dunkirk, which we were surprised at. And then first place votes. And then, of course, the ballots hadn't arrived yet. Then BAFTA hits. And then all of a sudden you realize, wow, once again, Billboards overperformed as it did at the Golden Globes, overperformed as it did at SAG. The one disappointment, of course, is the McDonough thing. You can explain that away. He's a quirky Irish playwright. What does the director's branch know? But I see all that. But you look, if Dunkirk couldn't win at BAFTA, my God, I mean, Darkest Hour, give me a break. I mean, it won BAFTA, of course, but it's all over the place. I could see Get Out winning. Get Out and Lady Bird both have the rooting factor for it. People love the movies and are rooting for it. And Three Billboards is extremely divisive, yes, but I still think that Three Billboards is going to win. It's been overperforming everywhere.
I just had one thing to say for Lady Bird, and what we're talking about. Another reason why I think it could win is if you're going through, like you, Mike, and Tom, you were just saying, like, the acting awards, Three Billboards is locked in, right? It's gonna win Sam Rockwell and Frances McDormand. You have Get Out. Jordan Peele's probably gonna win Best Original Screenplay, so that's gonna win. You'll get something for Darkest Hour. You'll have Shape of Water winning Best Director. You know, what is Lady Bird going to win? It's run out of awards. So to me, if Lady Bird is so well liked, which I think it is, and people really like it, literally the only award that it could possibly win at this point is Best Picture, and that's why I think it's kind of going to win, because it's like, if they want to give everyone a trophy, which the Oscars have done in recent years, kind of like spreading the wealth around the movies that people really like and making sure everyone gets their moment. So like Call Me By Your Name is going to win Best Adapted Screenplay. I think that's why, another reason I think Lady Bird, I know it sounds ridiculous, but I really do think that could end up winning, because otherwise
I question that theory. I feel like that dynamic works in the sense of people being like, hey, let's rally and make sure that that Jordan Peele gets screenplay if he's not going to get anything else. I don't think it works in Best Picture. I don't think Best Picture is a consolation prize because you didn't win anything else. You have to actually be strong in other categories. I mean, by the way, I'm hurting my own Get Out theory because all it's going to win is maybe screenplay. But I just don't know that Best Picture can function in that spread the wealth way.
Anne Thompson believes in the spread the wealth theory, and she is very good at this prognostication game, of course. And she thinks that the Get Out vote will get a major award, but it's not Best Picture. It will be Laurie Metcalf, and that will be the one surprise in the big categories, assuming Shape of Water wins Best Picture, as she predicts. The idea is that there's always one top award that throws us, like Mark Rylance or something we just didn't see coming. And
I mean, I could see that happening too. Yeah, definitely could happen, because, you know, the I, Tonya, that's another polarizing movie. Allison Janney still maybe thought of as a TV actress. The only reason I would say Laurie Metcalf can is because she's also thought of maybe as a TV actress. But you're right. If that's a spot where Lady Bird can win, then Laurie Metcalf gets a kind of like the Boyhood Memorial Award for Patricia Arquette, where it's like, well, she won. Let her get up there and talk about how great Greta Gerwig is and how great it is, and kind of like go from there. So I could see that happening. I, Tiny, was not a strong enough contender in the other categories. So I think if anyone is ripe for an upset, it is Allison Janney. But she's just steamrolled so many awards at this point. I mean, it kind of would be hard to imagine her losing, but you know, stranger things have happened. Like you said, Mark Rylance beats Stallone, so who knows?
You know what? This is, as you're talking about this, I'm thinking about changing my ballot, because that would be such an Oscar upset. It would be classic Oscar upset where everyone else went for the kind of more colorful sort of Technicolor villain character, and the Oscars are like, no, we're going back to like, this is a pure performance, it's subtle, it's disturbing, and we're okay with that even if everybody else isn't. So I can see that happening.
Yeah,
I can see it happening too. And do you think any other upsets are possible, you guys, in the acting races? Could anyone else break through? I think there's not as much possibility as the Christopher Plummer scenario that we all believe might happen. He didn't win at the Globes. He didn't win at BAFTA. He's demonstrated no support yet.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, like, even with the 3 Billboards controversy, it's funny, like, people you know, the movie is obviously very polarizing, but everyone, even though Sam Rockwell is playing like the most controversial character, I feel like everyone is like, he does do a great job. I mean, it is an incredible performance, I think, because part of the reason the movie is so controversial is because there is a sense of empathy around that Rockwell is creating a character, right? Because it's like, you do feel like he's getting some kind of redemption at the end, even if he is a terrible racist. So to me, it's like, that's all because Rockwell actually does such a good job with it. I almost wonder if Rockwell is so good, better than even McDonough thought when he was writing the script. And that's kind of why the movie is becoming more problematic, because the performance is actually better than, and kind of creating more thoughtful things than McDonough even intended on the page.
That's hilarious. I like that theory, that he's just so likable,
so
like good. Created a problematic
yes, I kind of think he did. I mean, like, he's that good in that movie. He's like, I don't think anybody's going to beat him. I guess the one I kept waiting for the shoe to drop on was Gary Oldman, and maybe have Timothée Chalamet win, but that's not going to happen. It seems like Gary Oldman has coasted through, you know, any kind of resurfacing things about his questionable behavior in the past kind of really never gained traction. And, you know, I think last year, if we're going to compare, it's not apples to oranges, but Casey Affleck won last year with way more controversy around him than Gary Oldman has now. So I feel like Gary Oldman has no problem winning this award. I think he'll win. You know, and Chalamet is a nice runner-up option. I guess
Willem Dafoe has been campaigning, and you know, he came on our podcast. He's lovely in person, and he really wants it, and he's so great in that film. But I think at this point, the Academy is invested in not only Sam Rockwell as a person, because everyone likes him, and in the greatness of that performance, but also there's a kind of a slightly limousine liberal thing going on here. But it's like, you know, if we're going to solve this Trump problem, we're going to have to, you know, find a way to meet, you know, people we don't like and bring them back into the fold. Right. And that's what Sam Rockwell represents. I think that's a very Hollywood thing to celebrate. So I think that's happening. I think Gary's happening. I think Francis is happening. Yeah, I mean, it all seems preordained, but we never know.
I got a question for you, Tom and Mike. What do you think? Do you think there's a possibility that Francis doesn't win, only because she maybe isn't as much of a glad hander as like some of the other candidates maybe are, and she's never really kind of wanted to play the game, and a lot of her, you know, her speeches this year have been intentionally off-putting. I feel like she's been like kind of like, you know, very much a firebrand, and people really respond to that. Certainly online, people love her. But I'm curious to see, like, do you guys, either one of you, think that that a Saoirse Ronan could win there, and maybe that's where Lady Bird wins? That's a shock upset on, you know, March 4th.
No, I mean, what we see all the time in terms of this big campaign question is people like Monique or people like Rylance don't do any campaigning at all.
And virtually. They still win.
And they still win. Or it's the opposite. It's the Eddie Redmayne or on the ground where and Spotlight for Best Picture, just such a relentless ground game. They wore down the voters. There was a party every night. Eddie was at every event, kissing every baby, slapping every back. He won it. He beat Keaton on the ground there. So it's bizarre. There's no one rule here.
Yeah.
What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I would be shocked if Saoirse won. I think it's a great performance and a really good movie, but this train has just been like
Yeah.
rolling down the track for quite a while now. I mean, it could happen, but I would be really surprised.
Yeah.
Well, a couple of the actors in the Academy we've spoken to have that we are aware of now have put Richard Jenkins on top. They're both Shape of Water voters, and we don't have final ballots yet. We were asking Academy members right before BAFTA what they thought, and so they're going to change their minds. We're going back now and doing a new tally. But that would be interesting, wouldn't it? Because that's where we see the upsets all the time, whether it's Jim Broadbent or Mark Rylance. It's in that damn supporting actor category, right? And all of a sudden, let's say there's a Shape of Water sweep, and Jenkins goes for the ride. I think people would like that in a way. Because remember, Rockwell's up against a co-star, and Woody is beloved, and he's not going to win here. But there could be some vote splitting. I don't know.
Yeah, and again, like we said, the character is super problematic, or at least when people think the movie is problematic, they're harping on the Rockwell character. So I think if there was a late break backlash against him, a guy like Richard Jenkins, who plays this incredibly warm, like a beautiful character, he's really nice. It's just a great performance, a beloved actor as well. I could see him sneaking in, but I just think Rockwell, I don't know. I feel like Rockwell is the type of guy who people are like, I can't believe he's never won an Oscar, and now this year they could say he won an Oscar.
Yeah, it's not like you've got Jenkins, who's a really nice guy that a lot of people have worked with and liked, against someone who's not a nice guy and a lot of people haven't worked with and don't like. Like Rockwell has that part of it down too. But maybe a vote split. But I don't even think. I mean, honestly, I keep forgetting Woody was nominated. He's wonderful in the film, but it's just like not top of mind.
There's so much consensus around predictions that it's hard to find something to disagree about here. But we do have a disagreement on best song, which is a great race, right? Because This Is Me is the best song, of course. I mean, it's a brilliant anthem, but it's the only nomination that Greatest Showman had. Do the Oscar voters really know it? What I find interesting is that, Mike, you have This Is Me winning. And Chris, you have Remember Me from Coco. Right. I have literally switched back and forth between the two over the last 48 hours, I think twice at Gold Derby. So you first, Mike, give us your best scenario on how This Is Me wins, despite it's only one nomination.
Okay, first I want to talk about the power of retail campaigning, which is that I sat at a table with Keela Settle at the Golden Globes and like watched her have a complete like ecstatic meltdown when she won. She sings the song. And so I'm actually just rooting for her and partly, but also, I read something, I can't remember where I read this, but they just said, look, like, wake up. This is the song that is a huge anthem. This movie has made, $300 million. It's a gigantic hit. A lot of people love it. It's, it's not really appealing to a lot of the snobby folks who are making these things, but it's standing alone in terms of it just being a song that's actually broken through. Now, we talked about it on the podcast. People brought up a bunch of other songs that had broken through in a pop way that totally failed at the Oscars. So I don't know. I'm one part objective here and one part subjective, but I think I could see it happen. I mean, it's kind of like close enough to 50-50 where I'm like, let's just say it's going to be This Is Us.
So, Chris, if they vote for It's Hard Out Here for a Pimp, yes, and they're aware of a rap song and they give it the Oscar, why not This Is Me? Well, Hustle and Flow was nominated in the category. Right.
I mean, I think kind of like what Mike was saying, for me, at least, I'm a snob. So I'm like, This Is Me. A Greatest Showman is like a kind of cornball big hit.
Can I just interject? Chris is Chris is so not a music snob.
It's true. I really like Garbage. I love this song.
Fell out of my chair. I guess you mean film snob.
Yes, I mean a film snob. Because like This Is Me. I mean, like that is definitely up my alley, and I love Pasek and Paul. I'm weighing on them to the point where my wife and I are rewatching Smash at the moment to like get all their great Bombshell songs. So I feel like we're really having a moment. But I don't know. I just think Remember Me. I think they're going to go through the movies. Coco is a movie people really love. It has the best animated feature nomination. It's probably going to win that. I just think it kind of tracks that Remember Me would win. I don't think any of these songs are really that great. I mean, The Mystery of Love, I actually like the other Sufjan Stevens song better from Call Me By Your Name. I don't even remember Mighty River and Mudbound. I apologize. I love Mudbound, but I don't the song that kind of stick with me at all. So I feel like Remember Me kind of like is a vote for Coco, and just another like, oh, we really like Coco, and kind of go from there. But everything Mike said, I could definitely see the argument. I mean, this is Greatest Showman had such a late break. It's honestly at this point one of the most recognizable movies nominated at the Oscars, right? Like they could actually run like advertising around This Is Me and The Greatest Showman being there because it was such a breakout hit, and it's been, you know, a hit for months. So I kind of feel like if This Is Me wins, it wouldn't be like the worst upset in the world. But I do think that the love around Coco will be strong, and that's why I have it there. But maybe I'll change my mind before 2 weeks, but we'll see.
And the song "Remember Me" and Coco is not an end credit song. It's in the film. It has an integral emotional tug to it. I know. I go back and forth on all this.
Well, can I just say one thing? The movie with the best actual songs that are not like original songs, but I just want to point this out, is The Square. The music in The Square, the foreign language nominee, that's the best music in a film this year. So everyone just go search that on Spotify. That's just because I am a music snob. I just want to, I'm embracing that.
Okay, final thought here. One of you guys, or both of you, I mean, give us are you going out for any long shot in those other races, like the shorts or cinematography or sound mixing or stuff?
Yes.
Like what's yours, Mike?
Tom, you got to explain something to me. How in the hell has anyone watched the shorts? How in the hell is the Kobe Bryant short winning in animated? It's fine. It's very nicely animated. That is not a good short. I'm going with Garden Party because it's a set at some kind of like Bel Air mansion. It seems to touch on the kind of like narcissism required for anything to be, taken seriously at the Oscars and in Hollywood. But also it's a student film, and it's really well done. It's really cool. So that's my big break from the Gold Derby crew is go Garden Party, not My Basketball, which is a Kobe Bryant weird
love basketball
letter to himself.
Mine would be, I don't have it down yet because I still have this down, but I'm going to change it. I actually think Baby Driver is going to win Best Editing over Dunkirk.
Yes, I changed to Baby Driver the other day.
So I have Dunkirk down, and that's definitely the conventional wisdom. But again, under the auspice of everyone gets a trophy, people really loved Baby Driver. I was not a super big fan of that movie. I think the editing is really strong in whatever you think editing is, because editing is a weird kind of thing where if you have a lot of editing, people like I, Tonya, I think could win also here. It's kind of, it's still not super high on the odds. But again, I didn't think the support around I, Tonya was really strong. But I think it's going to be Baby Driver. I just think we've seen action movies kind of take this in recent years. Mad Max obviously was the big one. I just think like Baby Driver checks off all those boxes. And Dunkirk, I'm not sure the passion is there. I mean, like, it feels like a lot. It just came out so long ago. It's a great movie. Everyone knows it's a great movie. But I'm like, outside of the sound categories where I think it'll probably win, like, I don't know what else is it going to win? Maybe editing. Obviously, I think, there's a chance it could upset Roger Deakins for cinematography, but it feels like they'll just let him win this year finally because there's no other really kind of like showy breakout movie kind of cinematography. So my upset would be Baby Driver and film editing.
I think there's a lot of wisdom to that. Baby Driver did very well at BAFTA, and it is the kind of heavy-handed, obviously edited. They love that, and we've had surprises here in this category for commercial films like Bourne Identity or one of those Bourne films, right? So it could happen, yeah. All right, so you guys at home, what do you think? Enough of the experts. You're the real experts, and it's your job to make your predictions at Gold Derby and prove that you are smarter than these three Oscarologists.
Not hard.
Up until the Oscars morning to change your predictions, but if you haven't made them yet, make them now. Prove us wrong.